Welcome back to Culturally Sound. We're here with Sophia Forsyth from uh, Amadley Group, and I have to tell you, I'm so excited about this conversation. It was some challenging times to get here, but here we are. And thank you so much for your patience. Tell me, how did you go from accountant to AI CEO?
Sure. That's been quite a journey, but no, let me take you back a little bit here. I studied accounting in college, and my big dream was to work for big four companies, public accounting companies. I thought I'm gonna work for them. I'll have the corner office, and I would just that would be making it for me.
Hmm.
But things didn't work out the way they did, and I did not make a cut to the big four. And at first, I felt very disappointed with myself, and I kind of got into the corporate, more on the corporate side, corporate accounting. Um, and here I am, and I started kind of like with the corporate accounting, you have monthly reporting. So you work a lot in Excel and you constantly have to report on numbers, on expenses. And I was kind of finding myself, month after month, kind of spending a lot of time on the same repetitive task. And I started playing around and kind of like asking myself, okay, how can I automate it? And one of the first report was it was expense distribution report. It was just a massive report that you have to mix and match and then kind of figure out what's happened there. So I remember I stumbled upon Visual Basics at that time, and that was my first introduction into syntax world. And I remember like recording all those steps and hitting F5 button, and I was just, oh my god, now I don't have to do this again. Like it's kind of like recorded, and the file started cleaning itself up, and like started going through the stages. Yeah, like it was a lot of again, lots of debugging, lots of trying to figure out. I'm not gonna like lie, it's lots of late evenings and weekends were spent there, but I was just fascinated and I wanted to learn more. And then the opportunity came up then I actually started talking more to IT department, and I started seeing what they do at that time. The VP of the company showed me how he just takes millions of rows of data, pushes one button, all of a sudden it's all updated. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is magic. Like I need to learn this because I am retrieving information from the system and constantly manipulating it like in Excel formats. And I kind of started like mapping things out. At that time, I didn't know anything about IT, right? For me, it was just kind of like I was doing my metadata at that time. That's what I was doing, like mapping out where that data is, what type of accounting GL codes it relates to, and started kind of begging my way into the IT department. And I'm just so grateful for the CFO at that time and also the VP of IT. If you guys listening, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. You know who you are. You took me in. You gave me that opportunity, and it was amazing. I was kind of like diving into the world of the data and learning myself to do SQL, lots of YouTubes, lots of again sitting on forums and trying to dummy the data and putting it out there and like. And at that time, you just like, okay, you put it at night in the forum, and then next morning, like somebody responds, somebody tells you, okay, go try this, and you just can't wait. So that was a lot of that, and but here's the thing, I'm just so glad that I followed my curiosity and that was kind of giving me energy because if you're curious about something, it's not like somebody's asking you to do those things. You kind of naturally go and start researching and playing things. And after that, it just, one job after another, I started becoming better in working with data, working with languages, with SQL primarily, query language. COVID hit, I got laid off on my another job, and then I started looking into freelancing. I was like, all right, let me try this. Let me see how it goes. And I vividly remember how I was just so scared of taking a client. Like somebody responded to my ad, and I was like, all right, I'm like, can I do this? What if I can't give them the service that they deserve? What if I'm not expert, like don't have an expertise? Because coming from corporate world where you have a team, you have a manager, you have people to reach out for advice, for best practices. You're not alone. But when you work with the clients, they rely on you to provide that expertise, and they're paying you money for that. So it's on top of it. So but luckily that panned out very well. I'm glad I took that chance on me because I was like, yeah, I told the person that was hiring me, okay, like I don't know how this is gonna go, but just bear with me. If something, I'll return your money basically. Like I'll, if it doesn't work out, like let me just try this. And then, yeah, and story be told, basically kept that, and I got a full time job after that as well, and just kept it. And since 2023, basically I'm doing this now full time. So primarily we help clients on a monthly group with data analytics. So taking them off from the spreadsheets, building every company use some type of enterprises.
Mhm.
Uh, what we do, we marry those enterprises across a platform, and it's again according to what they want, what they would like to see. So I don't have to pull these reports manually, and we build basically reporting solutions for them using business intelligence tools that are out there for everybody to know, like Power BI or QuickSight. And then when it comes to AI, now you have that data on top of it. Now you lay over the large language model that now can you can talk back to that data. So essentially, AI is elevating that experience now of conversational experience with your data.
Whew. So we flew through a ton of material there. What something you said, resonated with me, and there was the point around curiosity. I got curious about how this all worked and those intersection points. What what allowed you to nurture that curiosity, or what inspired that curiosity in you? Accountants, unless they're doing forensic accounting, aren't particularly curious people, right? So is that an unfair stereotype, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're curious people. They are. I think because for me, I just thought, wouldn't that be cool? Like I guess I'm say lazy in a way, right? I didn't want to do the same thing over and over again, and I wanted something different, different novice experience of doing something, make it better instead of like doing like, all right, I'm doing the same thing every week, every month. Like,
Mhm,
how can I? Is there a better way? And I
mhm,
always loved this like magic tricks when somebody like had really cool formula, for example, Excel formula. All of a sudden they do, oh, I gotta go learn, I gotta go figure this out. Well, how is this possible? How would I know this? I should know this. So basically, that was the thing there. And it's just like, all right, I'm doing the same thing. Let me figure out if there's a better way. Let me see what I'm capable of, basically.
mhm, mhm. Well, and it's really interesting because that led you to taking that leap, right? To get that first client and extend that curiosity to their space, and how can you help? And is there an element of, like, were you always into solving problems? Or, like, for me, I know that, one of my biggest things, one of the thing that fills my cup the most is helping people solve problems, and allowing my expertise or my previous experience or my curiosity to lead down a rabbit hole that maybe they weren't very um, courageous about going down, right? And learning why or what or how those things sort of tied together, and that's similar to what you've pointed to. So where did where did the courage come from to sort of give you that inspiration to believe in yourself to take that leap?
Yeah, I think it definitely like I like helping people. Every time when I listen, I just okay, how can I solve this problem? How can I make this better? I think I always ask myself like, how can I make this better? It doesn't matter if it's a business problem or if it's a personal problem or if it's advice, personal growth, career change, or like I don't know. It just naturally kind of comes to me like and. I meet with so many businesses on a daily basis. So for me, it's like I can't stop it when they say something that is like taking a long time or something's monotonous or like we really have, for example, one of my friends was saying how in their clinic and they don't have anything automated. They have to look up this diagnosis like hand by hand because it's in in paper, some of it in paper forms. It's really hard to read. And basically, then every time the patient comes in, there's just a lot of work around it just to figure out what work what didn't. And to me, that's like immediately just all right. In my head, my my machines are working. It's like all right. Well, you don't really have to do this. You can just get those digitalized and then you can build a database and then you can on top lay AI or even to put that even in any type of a database and now you have to query and retrieve it. You could do that, like stuff like that, kind of like, and then if you think about Excel is actually a form of database as well. It
For
stores the
sure.
data. So and just in my head, I think I just like problem solving a lot.
Interesting. So, what is the challenge or the problem that you come against consistently over and over with your clients that you find yourself endlessly solving? Is there one pain point that really stands out to you?
Yeah. So especially now in a world of AI, I'm talking to since we're doing AI, so I'm having a lot of conversations with my friends, with business leaders, with companies from all kinds of walks, from hospitality to medical field, to property management, real estate, anyone. And it's just number one, efficiency. Everybody's just like, oh, like I don't know where to start, but I'm spending so much time on like following ups or doing these like admin type of work to get to where I need to. That seems to be like a common underlying, like either it's to get new sales, to get new leads, communication, talking to people, getting that list, for example, ready to who do I talk to? How do I follow up with that person? Like all of that, or how do I set up, how do I craft a perfect message to go out to that person? And there's a lot of repetition on that end.
Gotcha. And so the tools or the tactics that you're applying there, is there a similar framework that you use to sort of attack that, or is it unique to everyone, or is it customized? How do you normally approach that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in the world of AI right now is just if we use any of AI tools, if they're not custom to a voice, and you know it yourself, right? It comes very robotic, it comes very generic, and it just doesn't make any sense. So I think with every strategy as well, if we're trying to work with veterinary clinic, for example, that has the processes, they might use certain they're industry leaders when it comes to systems that like in veteran space, but they might use, for example, they might not need this integration, but they might need this integration, and they looking at their performance on a clinical level from this lens. They need these type of KPIs, or so working on them and figuring what's your pain point right now. Do you know your numbers across all of the platforms do you use? What is taking the longest time right now to figure out? Maybe it's the per hour per pay, something like that, profit per employee that you have, or like figuring your inventory management is another issue might be. How do you scale, for example? Do you have systems there if you want to grow? Do you know what facility is doing better than the other on all of the levels, on services they offer, on the overheads on overhead that's there, for example. And then what are you automating? Do you still have people that doing something manually and not analyzing the data rather than just putting it together? So
Mhm.
putting together could absolutely be automated, but analysis, you need that expertise on your team members to kind of figure out, well, this doesn't make sense. How can we tweak the strategies around it so we do better?
And I guess your space in corporate accounting allows you to layer in those performance metrics a little more with a little
Yeah,
more nuance, right? It's
yeah,
something that possibly someone like a veterinary clinic, I find, or at least my experience has been, people get into these businesses or they start a business out of a passion for a particular thing. They aren't going to school for, whatever that might be per se, or they're going to school for that thing, but they're not going to school for business. And when you become a business owner or a leader or founder, you're in this world of, you're driven by passion, but you have to wear so many hats that it often gets distracting or overwhelming, where you don't pay attention to those details. So having a partner such as yourself to step in and, you know, what type of feedback are you getting from your clients on those type of details that you're able to really layer in and support that they're not aware of?
yeah. So that's a good question. We work with clients from all different types of, again, as I've mentioned, veterinary or e-commerce clients. And one of the feedbacks that I've got, because I do ask my clients, like, okay, there's so many people out there that are offering the same service that I am. Why'd you pick me?
Hmm.
And we have clients, legacy clients since 2022 working with us together. So for a long time with us, and we still work with them on weekly basis. And one of the things that they told me is um, that they like that they just give me the problem. They don't have to kind of break it down for me what's happening. And sometimes it might be chaotic to figure things out, but I kind of like I have my team would figure it out. We don't have to, for example, let's say they need some type of reporting for their financial leadership team. We work a lot with leadership team because they are the ones looking at those numbers and making those informed decisions. And if somebody's asking to put together a report, somebody might need like a exact um, requirements. Like this is how you do it. This is what it is. Like this step by step. But where we come in, it's like, all right, we have so many things going on. We don't have time. Help us to figure this out. Like, kind of help us on the fly. Put together documentation for us as well. Like, advise on the best practices. What do you think would be a good KPI to look at this report if we put together? What else are we missing? What else could be good to add? How can we, at the end of the day, be more retain our customers, create more revenue for ourselves? So, how else can we sell our product from a more of a use kind of like useful way or more like adding value way,
Hmm.
especially if they're producing any type of product that external for their clients. You
Hmm.
know, taking the insights that coming from our customers and like basically, all right, so and then utilizing them in adding them in their product and saying to them, okay, we hear you, we'll listen to you. Here's the thing that would be really good. Like here's a metrics that you need to pay attention to, like looking at from this lens, for example.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also looking, yeah, go ahead.
No, no, I don't want to interrupt at all. So the way that you're extracting that information, is there a discovery process, or how are you learning these details to sort of develop that scope?
That's a good point, actually. The same client, when we came in, they did not had somebody left and did not put a good documentation process, for example. And we come in and the data is kind of everywhere. So there
Mhm.
isn't documentation on, and they have data sources coming from different platforms that they use. So there isn't like a roadmap that says, okay, um, this is a roadmap for this data, for this type of system, for this, and that's how they talk to each other. We kind of come in and like sit in the data and try to figure out, like look at the old report and see where the data is coming from. If they are if that report is pulling data from multiple different enterprises, okay, what tables are they using? Kind of like more a little bit more technical. What kind of fields of those tables? What the data actually is coming from, and then reverse engineer that and learn that
Mhm.
about their tables, their systems, and then put together documentation for that to help
So
them
just
kind
a
of
unique development process
um,
per
build that back
client
up.
is sort of, and that's, I mean, I think the
Yeah,
more I connect and meet small business owners or business owners such as yourself, it's really to that point. It's the clients today are looking for something that's unique to them. They don't want something out of the box. They don't want something that, they're tired of buying tech and not having it work because it's not actually designed for them. And adding those customizations and those nuanced details that specifically
yeah,
helps them scale and develop the problem they're actually trying to solve, and not just trying to fit their problems into the box of the tech that they purchased, I think is an important point.
yes. And then like especially with the in AI right now, there's so many providers, so many different large language models, so many tools out there for everything, for note taking, for helping you with marketing, for helping you with content, with helping you with doing research, like so many tools basically. And like how do you
Hmm.
navigate? What do
Hmm.
you use? What's better than the other one? Because all of them cost money and cost time to learn, to onboard, and to kind of be part of the ecosystem. So this and then here's another thing. I'm always like asking, okay, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? And then now let's step back. Okay, do we need AI for it or do we need data analytics for it? For example, is there a reporting that may be good for you? Maybe you need AI for when we talk about AI, maybe you need to analyze your insights and you want to do predictive analytics suggestions that based on these purchases that your customer made, maybe with predicting that these type of
Mhm.
products, these type of services would be also good fit for them. But that's where um, kind of individual lens works, and that's where we use the AI to kind of predict that,
Mhm.
analyze that
Mhm.
individual purchase, and then make those
Interesting.
predictions.
How do you what's where is it going from here? I mean, I suppose it's a bit of a I mean the advance and the speed at which technology is moving is just it's almost vertical at this point. So from I guess a two-part question.
Yeah,
General intelligence, how far away do you think that is based on what you're working with? I guess would be one question. And how does that tie into what you're doing with your clients today?
absolutely. That's a good question. So general intelligence, I keep reading different articles about it and then different predictions. Some say 10 years, some say 15 years, but that's where we general intelligence basically now AI that what we
Exactly.
have. Let's say
Yeah.
everybody associates AI with ChatGPT, right? Most people. So it's like a tool. It's as good as user. So you tell it what to do. You fine tune it. You basically try to give it the voice that you want to. When it comes to general intelligence, now kind of it's autonomous. Now it does things on its own. Basically, you don't have to instruct it. You don't have to. Um, so that is huge, right? So I'm thinking, I don't know, everything I read, I hope it's 10, 15 years, maybe longer, because to be honest, what we're doing right now, I think from the AI standpoint, I do see it as a tool to help us to do our jobs better, where I do want the humans to be involved and we still
Mhm.
keep the interactions that are native to us as humans, human connection, human creativity, and also decision making, the analytical skills that we have. So we want to, I think it will help us to focus more, like it will challenge us actually to develop those skills. So when we work with AI, I always say, okay, if you have AI do things for you, it doesn't mean that you don't have to still be expert in your field. It doesn't matter that you doesn't mean that you still need to grow. Actually, this is where exactly you need to grow. This is exactly where you need to become the domain expert so you can lead that AI in to help you to gain more insights that you might not know of. But you do need to train that AI to be kind of your pal that will help you now to boost your productivity and help you to look at things differently. And to be honest, what I'm noticing right now is, for example, even little like a simple things like recorded calls that we have with clients, right? Certain things that you might not be obvious to you that you can ask AI based on a recorded call. Okay, what did I miss? What's a pain point that the client told me about? And I can like go and research or I can
Mhm.
deliver better value. How can I solve it better for them? Basically. So asking those questions only comes with you having expertise in your
Mhm.
field, in your domain space, because you have that knowledge. But if you don't have that insight, if you're not growing, we don't have that insight. So it's going to be helpless to us, right? Because if you go to ChatGPT right now and you just ask random questions, it's going to give you random answers left and right. So what we've been building AI tools since last year heavily for our clients, and what we're seeing there is automating customer service inquiries based on real-time data, meaning so you see probably lots of chatbots out there that
Mhm.
most of the times give you information on a static data, like websites, just kind of everything that's about websites. But I'm talking about real time information, meaning if you expose the large image model to the real time transactional data that you have, let's say that they would be able to authenticate the person that's asking the information and give them information based on like repetitive questions that a person might ask or about their billing. And then you have customer service. You can also train it for billing and then also for any type of let's say yeah, customer service, billing information, any type of services that they're interested in or suggestions that they might have. So in
Mhm.
2025 what I see is era of AI agents. You must have heard of them. You take a role and now you have the agent, which is large language model that's trained basically to become to to take the responsibilities of that role. So anywhere that you, as a knowledge-based worker, would come in on the screen and will work on
Mhm.
clicky
Yeah,
clicking, this
I,
is all could be
I think
automated by AI,
that's
basically.
so. And a large
So
misconception, right,
yeah, go
is
ahead.
AI today is not particularly that intelligent, right? There, it's more predictive, right? And it's been labeled as AI as just something as a
Yeah,
common understanding of what the broader society sort of understands. But I think, as to your point, general intelligence is far off in the future. Now, there was a statement made, and I want to make sure I get this right. He was at Davos, and he was speaking about how everything that everyone does is going to be replaceable in the next 18 months, which um, I think from a data management perspective, possibly, because the way that ChatGPT and or sort of OpenAI shared operator, it's sort of going to be an interesting position to see how that happens. And
yeah,
but you know, any of the AI adoption or implementation that we do with Corethos, it's always from a human in the loop type of perspective, right? It's never, today at least, it isn't a set it and forget it type of position for the vast majority of it. Any of the Mark Benioff is doubling down with his implementation of Agent Force and sort of iterating on that as quickly as possible. How are you sort of implementing those AI agents today, and what do you see the scalability and the future of that space look like in the next 18 months?
it's huge. Every aspect of the industry is going to get impacted by it. You're right about Mark Benioff. I think he um, also there's just so a couple of things.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen the 2025 job report that came out, and you can see that across the spectrum. So every industry is going to be affected, but the industries that
Right.
require human connection are going to be augmented less than the others. Um, so what we see right now, we see a huge demand, and we're building those out. That AI agent that will help businesses to basically everything that you do on the admin part, everything that they manage on the systems, on the computers, basically on the browsers, all could be set up as a basically workflows that could be automated. So now you have AI agents that are know everything about your organizations. And again, human in loop is critical there because you need to make sure that those AI agents are not hallucinating. They're giving you the right information for you to make right decisions. And you're also monitoring all of the responses, all the prompting and responses back to make sure that also standing within the guardrails as well as within uh, uh, and
Mhm.
they aligned as well to do what the goal was for them to perform basically. So yeah, I completely see it. It's going to be interesting times, and I think every company and every person should be embracing themselves with AI. Should be starting learning. Yes, a lot of people might say, "Well, it's not hallucinating. It's not doing giving me right information," but because probably again they might use ChatGPT, the free version and that has a very short memory span in there, so they're not really having that model to fine tune to what they need it to be, to have their voice, to have their knowledge, to have that expertise for them, for that model to give a more cohesive response back. But we do need a human loop 100% in to make sure that um, we're not, and even once it's out, it's not something, okay, AI agent is going to be out on its own and just going to like, float around. No, you still need to, it's a digital tool, right? It's a digital tool that just like any other
Right,
system
an incredibly sophisticated calculator,
needs to have
right?
oversight.
It's not going to solve the math equation. Well, I mean, this one can solve the math equation for you, but it's not going to create the problem necessarily, right? So, with all of that, in how do you see your company evolving with this technology? And if it if it's going to replace all of the usership of that, um, for your clients, what does that evolution look like for your team?
Sure. Right now, we're having a huge demand because, again, we one of the most
Mhm.
important thing that I think is great for us is that we understand data. That there's so many tools out there that help you to automate workplaces and work like all of these processes.
Right.
However, you need to understand the data so you can actually garbage in, garbage out. You need to understand what's the programming. So it gives us definitely advantage. But I also want to say there's so many tools out there right now for people that are
Mm.
non-tech that want to build something and don't need to know the coding. They can do them themselves. They can get to proof of concept, a minimum viable product, and kind of everything that they wanted to here. Like try it out. Yes, it has some limitation, but it will get you. It will get you to that MVP that you always wanted to. And there's a problem because I bet and I know that every business has a problem, right? That they always wanted to solve, a nice have, or a must have. And now
Mhm.
there's just so many tools out there that you can play around and do the proof of concept. But it helps us that when we come to our clients, we actually, it's not about the tool, it's about the solution. Okay, how can we build something that's sustainable, that's secure, that's and also that's right for them as well? What tools are right for them? So
And I
we kind
think,
of do the
to your
wholesome
point,
uh, solution for
I
them.
think the element that current AI is restricted by is the person that's using it. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting garbage in, you're going to get garbage as an output. But if you have expertise in the space, you know that it's garbage out, and you're able to refine that and change that and adjust it. Whereas, the layman, or the person that isn't familiar, or someone that's learning, is going to hit that roadblock and that barrier, and it's going to give information that isn't necessarily right. So when you actually apply that information that it's sharing with you, you're sort of stumbling a little bit, which allows for that, like you pointed to, the human in the loop being able to say, no, 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 that's not right. Let's readjust the input so that we get a more refined or improved upon output. And what does that look like for the next generation? And, what does that look like in, I mean, I'd say like 10 years, but I think none of us have a lens that is going to be able to grab that. So, 2, 3 maybe.
Yes, it was interesting. I was reading this
Mm.
article, and the vision for next 10 years was someone that's, for example, healthy. This is the vision. Someone that's able to think and things could happen. Like I know this kind of sounds fantasy world, right?
Mhm.
But Neuralink, for example, one of them, right, where they sense the frequency of um, basically they sense a frequency and it will give a certain emotion when you think about something and sending a signal
Mhm.
basically they can convert it into action, which is incredible. But in 10 years it was, you've heard probably about Meta having those eyeglasses, 3D glasses that they can see, they can talk to, basically, like forget about cell phones. It's you have the glasses, and let's say you're walking around, and you're getting called, so you can really have a conversation, and then you can tell somebody what you see, and then everybody will have like their own agent. Where, for example, if you have a call your family member and they want to schedule a dinner party, you don't have to pick up the phone anymore. You can just talk through the conversation through your glasses. Where you basically, yeah, pick up that call. Sure, let's schedule a meet, like let's schedule dinner, and then the agents are going to basically talking based on your preference, based on your past experiences, the places that you like to go to, the restaurant at the time that's good for you because they have access to your calendars. They can schedule a dinner with your family member, and they're like, okay, see you there. Or you could just, and you're walking around, this whole thing is happening, you're not touching anything, you're not touching computer, you're not going on a browser and selecting the restaurant you want or calling the receptionist. The agents are on the back end calling the receptionist, calling the other party that you want to schedule a meeting with, and they're setting it all up and they're just reporting back, it's done at this hour, and you're still
Right.
walking. Like you're not you're not even touching your phone. That's or setting up, for example, cleaning to be picked up, or or delivery that you wanted. Same thing. You just have a conversation, or check up for your pet that you're
Mhm.
walking with. Just talking. It's incredible what's possible. But the idea is there that if every person and most businesses and every business, right, will have these agents, that's it. There's a data. These agents converse through the basically electronic, right? They have electronic conversations, and now they build up the data based on what you like, what your health is like, what your habits are like, what's your preference on the books that you read, what type of business do you do, and they all interchange that. And now they basically build those connections kind of on the back end and
How the Internet of Things all weave together.
make things happen for
So
you.
when we look at sort of the lived experience, right, the human experience, and I heard it described as, modern society has this positioning of living between, if we laid it out on a scale of 1 to 10, modern society sits between 4 and 6. That's where they want to be, and that's comfortable. Complacency sort of resides in there. But the argument being made is that you need to experience the ones so that you can experience the tens. So you have to experience that pain, that disappointment, that failure, that strife, that hardship, the ones, in order to experience the joy and the jubilation and the euphoria that comes with the tens. Because otherwise you don't know the difference
Yeah.
if you just sit in that median.
Yeah.
Does this AI futurized relationship, stumbling on some, little hole in the wall because you couldn't get reservations at the place that you preferred, so you ended up there, and oh my God, it's the best food you've ever had in your life. They cook it in a special way, and no one else knows about it because it's this little hole in the wall and that you sort of trickle into. How do we get those experiences if everything is based on our biases?
That's a good question, right? But you could also, that's a good question. But I
Mhm.
think like even right now, here's the thing. I'm in ChatGPT. There's
Okay.
a starter, prompt starter, surprise me, right? So I bet if you just ask, okay, surprise me, what's there that I don't know? And again, it's having that, why, okay, it's having that development that you still invest in yourself, you still grow and learn, so you can ask those questions, informative questions. Because otherwise, if you're not growing or investing in yourself, you don't have that insight, or you don't have that urge to ask that question even. So I still think we should still read books, all the classical books, because here's the thing, people have not changed in 100 and in 150 years. I mean, have you read one of the classical books? Like, I remember we used to read the books of Dead Souls by
Okay.
Gogol. He's like one of the famous Russian writers, and he wrote the book in 1800s. I mean, there are personalities in that book, like quarter personality, that you
Yeah.
can still one of the personalities that he describes in the book is Korobochkina. That's the personality character, and you can still see that person
Mhm.
nowadays. I mean, the book is 200 years old, probably would be soon.
Mhm.
The story of it. It's over 100 years old. And you still see 100 plus years old. I think it's in the late 1800s that was written. But it was just fascinating to me that we as humans, you still need to learn how, like, you still need to invest in yourself and like read books, as I mentioned, study your material so you can get those insights, so you can still evolve. And because we as humans, it's innate to us to be creative. It's innate to us to problem solve. It's innate to us to come up with new inventions. And that's how the AI is not going to stop, because we as humans would want to take it to the next level, to the next level. And I just, yeah, and I just hope that it's going to be supporting us. Always,
I certainly hope
always
so.
have a human in the
I,
loop.
I
Always
think
have our interests first.
I think where I get concerned and I stumble is fortunate enough to be in a space and live at a time where I know what life was like pre-internet. And I always thought that, as the internet evolved and as the internet grew and became more mainstream, it wasn't just a fad. Always knew that would sort of, at least I always believed that would be the case. That, the barrier to, maybe I'm using the wrong word here, but intelligence was the ability for higher education. And with that barrier becoming the cost of higher education, the internet was the key, was the gateway, the one that broke down the walls and allowed people to learn and be curious and get all of the information they possibly could ever consume in a lifetime. And that would allow them the ability to make better decisions and come up with more nuanced ideas and concepts and be more creative. But I find as we continue down this road, there's less critical thought. There's more biases just being informed and echo chambers being created, and the willingness to engage in conversations such as this to glean that curious nature and learn from other people has become shuttered. Now, is that social media? I don't know, because you can live in a device that fits in your hand. But I think the younger generation is sort of trying to break that mold. Social media subscriptions, or at least time spent on social media, is trending downwards, which I think is a great thing. But churches and community spaces hopefully become more repopulated to allow for that type of face-to-face and human connection to become and grow. When and where do you think that these things intersect, or do you feel differently about any of those sort of thoughts?
No, no, no. I think actually good point. And you know what? It's great what you're doing right now, Chandler. Right now, you are building your brand, but you're also building communication, right? You are getting in front of people, you're talking to other
Right.
people. You're not an AI. You human creating human content. That's what you're doing right now. And people come to you and they trust you, Chandler. They know things about you, they learn, they like to listen to you. Because right now with AI, it would just become so easy to stempel AI avatar, right? Because you don't have to put yourself in a comfortable position. You don't have to speak and you don't have to worry about how you sound or how you look, right? Because a lot of times, like I know for me, I started content in 2024. It was, yeah, I did the social media like stories quickly for a family. That's nothing. But talking about what you do in front of the camera or in front of a lot of people, it's very intimidating. Um, at least at the beginning, and as you do something more often, it gets easier. But that's why, yeah, it sounds like getting AI to replace that. It sounds so much easier, right? You just train the AI, and now it talks like you, it sounds like you. But at the same time, I feel like what's going to happen, and it's going to be so much of it, it's going to be commoditized, and having someone that already built that trust that I am human and I'm talking to humans. What I'm saying is not fake, and it's not something synthetic. It's me talking to you, showing my emotion. I think that hopefully is going to stand out. It's going to be valued. I really hope so, because I think at the end of the day,
Mhm.
we are humans like to do human things that are natural to us. We want the human connection. At the end of the day, yeah, maybe some people want in large quantities, small quantities, doesn't matter, but we do want that. That's why we have all the mental issues coming from that, right? Being isolated. We This is just not in our nature. Our nature is to have community, small or big, and to see face to face. And I hope that would be valid. I hope that that would be something to seek through. Okay, we have automated this task. We have onboarded the AI agents. Now we can get into be there in our communities, because I also see people are. Here's what I've noticed with everyone that I help with, of the businesses that I help, they like to automate the things so they can go do humanly things. Meaning they want to go spend time with their
Mhm.
families, travel, take that trip. That's what they do. So they automate things, and the time that gets freed up, they actually do things that where they interact with their family members, again, taking that trip, going to learn how to cook. Like they do things that are creative, that are kind of rich in
When
emotions.
I mean, I really hope that that's true, right? And I hope that they aren't just finding more time to do more work, and that's my concern. And I find, like, when I have a commitment, or when I have an obligation to meet with a client, or meet with an individual, or meet with, and they cancel, it's like, okay, good, I get that hour back, I can now go do this work, or of that nature. And my concern is
Yeah.
that, you know we're working more now than ever before, right? Our work weeks, especially, the criticism on the return to work statements are that, they're not, that you're not working when you're working from home. You're off doing your own personal things. And I mean, I know for me that wasn't true. I probably spent more work in front of this monitor and more time in front of this monitor than I would have had I had to go to an office to do it, because I would have spent more time in a car and all of the rest. Now, can I jump up if I hear that my daughter is pinched her finger in a door? Absolutely. And I'm there for those moments to comfort and support and do what I need to do, and then I can come back to it. But how do we set things in place or support people in doing what you suggested, which I think is obviously a much more healthy future, where we've got this automation and we now have the ability to have more time. So instead of having everyone needing to work 40 hours a week to maintain a salary, we're down to 35 or 20. And the distribution of that wealth is not just funneling upwards towards CEOs, but it's actually coming back down and getting distributed around the people that actually make the work happen.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think it depends on the people, human nature as well. I think because there are some people that are, there's some people that are just want to work hard. They love
Yeah.
working hard. They
Yeah.
love the whole, okay, what's my next mountain to climb, right? I think it's just you can't really take that away from them, right? Because it's just this is what fuels them up. Like, okay, well now I have this time. I'm gonna like I really wanted to do this now. I really want to
Mhm.
venture. Whether it is work, whether it's painting, free time now, they just like, going through and they
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
paint, learn how to paint with watercolors or whatever it is, right? They delve into focus onto something else. It's just, I think it's a human nature. And there's some people that are just like, all right,
Mhm.
like these are my priorities. I'm gonna make sure I cover them and then move on with my day. And because I have other priorities that I set, I think it's an individual level in terms of what goals do you have, what kind of life do you want to build, and also like asking yourself the question. And I know this is gonna be funny, but
Yeah.
you know, also ask
Yes.
AI, okay, this is what I want. This is my ideal life. How do I get to it? Figure out the step-by-step plan for me, and this is what I tend to do. And like basically you can describe yourself, and again, we're talking about the sensitive information. You don't really have to, provide your social security number there, but but you can just ask it to give you a roadmap, and it will. And then it's just the sticking
You
to
know
it
what I find
and
so
seeing
interesting
what's
about you,
valuable
and,
to
and,
you.
and what you continually point back to is you continue to point back to building systems, right? It's great to have these goals and these lofty ideals and where you want to get
Yeah,
to, but how are you going to get there? What's the ladder that you're going to climb that's going to take you there? And how do you formulate that and put that in a
yeah,
position to allow yourself to be successful? And it's that it just seems like it's just ingrained in you to go to create that pathway. It's really interesting.
yeah. It's just it's a what's an action item that I can take and kind of just go from it. Yeah. Um, I remember before pre-AI, just I always kind of like to write things down. It was like, all right, this on the left side, everything I want, and the right side, okay, what's the action item that you can get to it, and let's just focus on that, and then revisit that. I think it's kind of the work always for myself, and yeah, and this is where we need routine as humans. We do need steps. As much as routine could be mundane and boring, but we do need to follow a
Yeah,
script, ourselves actually. At least I can speak for myself. I need a script where I know where I'm going, what I have to do, so I'm not like,
and I think
floating
maybe
around
that's
per
part
se.
of your superpower in being able to organize chaos in the way that you do, right? But I think there's a lot of people like, um I don't know, you look at the creatives of the world, the ones that take the ugliest things in life and turn it into art and beautiful musics or songs or pieces of art that we appreciate. You know, who knows if they have that desire to have routine? But I think that individualism of society and the differences is what really makes it beautiful. How would you describe yourself if you needed to use 3 words to sort of characterize you as a leader, as an individual, as what would that look like?
That's a hard question for me to answer. I always like to ask other people how they describe me, just because I might just say I'm the best, I'm this, but then I then I was like, all right, I have some awareness for sure. Like I know my shortcomings, but I always was curious. I think that's the thing, and I one of the things that inspired me, I always wanted to be helpful. I remember. So originally, I came from Uzbekistan many years ago, and my whole point to come to United States and study here was to be helpful. That was something that always was in me. You know that I financially we grew up in low middle class family, so we did not have a lot of money. Post Soviet Union, my parents struggled. Basically, at that time, everything changed, currency changed, and we didn't have much. So for me, like being helpful, that I always have be resourceful. That if there's a problem, I can
That's
financially
beautiful.
help. That
What
was
a
always
what
something that motivated
how
me.
old were you when you came to the States?
Sure, I was 21. So I came in here to study accounting. I finished in 2.5 years because I transferred some of my credits.
How did you decide
I
on
came to
Iowa?
study in Iowa. So uh, oh, so funny. I have a funny story. I am, so my whole family came to say goodbye to me as I'm leaving to Iowa, and I have no idea where going. Okay, at that time, this is how I applied. So back in Uzbekistan, I'm from suburbs of outskirts of Tashkent, the capital. At that time, you have a dial-up internet, and we didn't even have it in our house. So you have to go to internet cafes. They literally called cafes, and it's all dark. It's in somebody's basement where all the boys are playing Counter Strike on computers. It's all dark, hilarious. So you come in and you pay for 2 hours, and I would just sit there in an old computer and like look up the colleges all across the United States and start applying to them. Basically, I took TOEFL. I believe I took TOEFL. No, I took IELTS, which is British language testing system, and I would just submit applications, and I didn't even have money to pay. It was like $25 for applications. So I'll go to post office and I will put $25 check. I don't have a checkbook. We don't even have a checkbook. So just, send out, have it everything translated, all my diplomas, and then I got accepted into Northwestern College of Iowa. So I'm here at the airport, and my grandma's saying bye to me, and I'm like crying my eyes out. All my family, my uncles and aunts, we have a big family. I'm like crying and sitting in the airplane, crying. And the passenger next to me is like, "Oh, where are you going?" Uh, I'm going to Iowa for school. It's like that's what you need to be crying about. Do you
So
know
it's
where you're going?
it's funny, and no offense to Iowa, because I mean, if you if anyone listening hasn't been, I mean, it's not what I expected. Farm fields for days, right? And my wife went and did some work at a university in Ames, um, Iowa, and oh my God, what a beautiful town! And like fell in love with the people there, and the best pizza that I had ever had, where you dip the crust in honey. I've never experienced it since. And like the Mexican food that we were able to enjoy there was just incredible. I mean, I like my food, but yeah, I mean, I was jokingly saying, going to Iowa, that's what you should be upset about. But it's a gorgeous state. And
It's
anyhow,
so good.
why didn't we not start with that story? What a story! Like that's incredible. 21. Like I thought, you would have been much younger based on the how well you speak English and all of the rest. That's really impressive, and I mean that's not to
Thank you.
take anything away. It's incredible. I mean, so
No, it's all good. Thank you. Yeah.
do you have a guiding quote? Are you a quote person? You seem, if you like to read, you must have a quote or something that sort of allows you to align how you want to go, or So for me, the one that I followed for a really long time was from Honest Abe, and it was, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, and I'll spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. Just speaking to being prepared for things, and if having a plan and being able to approach things and taking the time to be mindful and present in what you're about to undertake. What about you? Do you have anything that just you were
Yeah. Oh, I have a lot of things. I guess, okay. So this is
okay?
kind of come to me. I've read the book by Oprah Winfrey, and a lot of times there's a chapter where she says, I stay as one, I stay as 1,000. So it always gave me
Mhm,
strength because I'm here, as an immigrant, came by myself, and I'm one, but I stay as thousands, as my aunts,
yeah,
as my mother, as my grandmother, as everyone in my ancestry. I think that was very powerful when I read that in her book because when you are scared and you like,
mhm,
as entrepreneurship,
mhm,
it's a lot of navigating uncertainty all the time, right? You constantly in AI, like new technology comes in, you have to onboard it, you have to learn it, you have to make sure that you can provide expertise on it. And when you're building your products, we also spend a lot of time on R&D because we need to learn this new tool. We need to build before we go ship it out to our clients. And sometimes you don't know if it's going to pan out or not. And yeah, you roll out your time and resources, and you also lead people that rely on you. I have team that relies on me on my decisions. So it's going to affect everybody. So it's sometimes it just that quote with me for a long time, but through everything, through every career change, through any personal challenge, just or anything that I took kind of massive is again like I stay as one, I stay as thousands. So I have their backing with me. I have that strength. I have that courage from
it's
all of their
beautiful.
walks of life
Yeah,
with
and
me in my veins.
I see
So
it.
that's just something. Yeah.
So there's lots of conversation around, and you spoke to it. Humans love routine, right? So, a few years back, it was all about meditation, waking up early in the morning and drinking, whatever, consuming. Do you have a morning routine or an evening routine that you stick to that supports? What does that look like?
Yeah. So right now it's
Oh,
kind of
that's
look
good
like
for
all over
you.
the place because I
Congratulations.
have a 3+ month old daughter. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's my second child. My first one's 3 years old. So um basically, but I always something I do constantly. It's a warm lemon water that I drink before I eat anything. It's just something I've been doing for years. And also I have my vision board that I always look at and write down my basically my goals, what I want to accomplish for this year, and I visually so I always look at it, even if one sometimes it feels like it's too far fetched. I still look at it and I try to and be grateful and I say thank you. So the minute I open my eyes, I always say thank you, making sure that you know. I love that by Gary Vee. I saw that. Hey,
Yeah.
if everyone that you loved is alive today, you have a great day. So that's something
Hmm.
I like. Open my eyes. Okay, so
Hmm.
I have a great day. Like everyone I loved is still
It's funny.
here.
I
Awesome.
My
It's a
daughter
great
woke
day.
up the other day and she was all bummed out and upset. And I said, "Look at you. You're here. I'm here. Everyone that you know is healthy and able to jump up. And what do you have to look forward to at school today?" She listed off a bunch of things. It's going to be a great day, and I totally embrace what you're saying. And
That's awesome.
I know there's so much pain, there's so much hardship, and there's so many negative, bad things that happen all around us and throughout the world. And I mean, we can we definitely need to take steps forward to absolve that and remedy that. But you know, we have to be in a place where we're grateful for the things that we have and chase after the things that are on your vision board. What do those look like? What have you got on there right now?
Oh, what have I written about? Well, number one thing is spending time with my family. But what exactly looks like, right? Um, Taking the trip. I want to, for example, take a trip. My mom always wanted to go to Italy. We've never been. I would love to go to Italy, take her to Italy, take a whole big family of me, kids, my husband, and go to Italy together. That would be
Wow.
awesome. Get my brother and his wife and my
Yeah.
nephew. That
That
would be
would be
fantastic that I
fantastic.
can do that.
What what is and I mean we just touched on something that could be concerning, but what's the one thing that you are most afraid of, and why?
Oh, oh, that's that's a heavy one.
Mm,
I think you always fear for health, right? You just and yeah. And I read it something. I said how somewhere that was health is everything, right? For but also character is another thing. Not losing character. Um I think that's a very important thing. I read it. Yeah, I read it somewhere that's like losing a character would be the hardest part because you're gonna have any type of obstacle, but the character to push through is how you deal
mhm.
with the setbacks is
How you are in your
defining.
darkest days, right? That defines. Yeah, yeah. I've got
Exactly.
Yoda over this side. I've got Groot down on this side. Do you have a favorite superhero? And it doesn't need to be Marvel or DC, but maybe it can be someone that inspires you, that has you sort of take on that meaning. What would that look like?
Yeah, I have. So that's a character from Soviet Union era. Since I grew up in Uzbekistan, it's very famous for all the post-Soviet countries. It's a very
Okay.
famous toy. It's called Chiburashka. It looks like a monkey, but it's not a monkey. And the whole
Hmm.
promise was that it's something unusual that nobody wanted. Nobody knew what it is, but it was the kindest thing ever. So it accepted everybody, and it had so it was found in this store and all forgotten, and nobody knew what it was, and kind of like everybody said, "What is this thing?" So it got a friend that was a crocodile, and the crocodile adopted that Cheburashka, and they together helped everybody in the world. But Cheburashka was the kindest
Wow.
and most
And
accepting,
that
most accepting creature
totally
that's out there.
aligns with everything I've learned about you today. That's what I whole thing. That's excellent. It's been a
Thank
pleasure,
you.
and Sophia, thank you so much for your time and everything that you've shared. What a life you're leading, and I'm so happy that we've had this time together, and I'm
Thank
able to
you.
follow along with what you're doing. What's most exciting for you in the near future? Anything that we should touch on, highlight on? Anything that you want to share with those that are listening at this point?
So exciting for me is keep learning, keep delivering value for my clients, and onboarding AI ethically, responsibly, and securely for them, and making sure that we still have that human connection.
Perfect.
So we're
Beautiful.
elevating humans' life with
We will
technology.
have your socials in the show notes. So anyone that's curious about learning a little bit more about a Madly group is able to connect with you and you directly on LinkedIn. Um, thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you, Chandler. Thank you for having me.